Right. Okay, the interviews keep on coming now. I'm ready to get on my next guest onto my program now. I'm glad to introduce Australian-based singer, songwriter, and musician Kevin Sullivan. Welcome to my show.
G'day, Dan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How's today treating you?
It's been pretty good. I'm wearing a Sun shirt. I hope you can see that Sun shirt. It's from Sun Records in Memphis, Tennessee, but also Sun in honor of you.
Oh,
And
brilliant.
I'm just watching. I'm watching a musician. I've been out watching a musician, but I've come out to speak to you. So thanks so much for having me on.
That's great. You're a musician yourself, so is it always nice to like be on the other side and watch other like acts perform?
Well, we don't get the chance much, Dan. So I'm a singer songwriter, and we tour a lot. And this where I'm watching this artist. This is where I live. So we don't do many shows where we live. We sort of come home and we chill out when we're home. And I travel with my three young kids, and they're the Kevin Sullivan and the Sullivans, and they sing and harmonise. But when we're around, when we get the chance to see other artists, it's always great to go and watch them, and you learn from them and you enjoy their shows. And so we love doing it. And I've just been enjoying the guy here tonight. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Bit of family time, and it's a nice evening out as well. Entertainment.
Yeah, it is, and we don't get a lot of downtime when we're at home. We're booking more shows, and which is what we've been doing. I released my new album Threeways on the 28th of June, and to a pretty sold out crowd. We did well, and then 2 days later, just so that the UK audiences know, I released my album about 2 hours south of Sydney, and it's on the east coast of Australia. And then 3 days later, my family and we jumped in a plane and we flew to the middle of Australia, the Northern Territory, where Sir Ayers Rock, Uluru is, and we did a 10-day musical residency because my album Threeways was sort of written. Well, the title track was written about a roadhouse in the Northern Territory. So yeah, it's we don't let the grass grow under our feet, Dan. We're always on the road, and as a musician, as a singer-songwriter, you really have to be out there and playing to crowds and meeting new fans. So it's sort of one fan at a time, really, we say.
That's awesome. Grab the ball by the horns while you can. Save every opportunity.
Yeah, that's pretty true. We have another saying out here, which is sort of make hay while the sun shines. Dan, you probably got it over there too, but
Yeah.
yeah, and look, it's hard work being a musician, and especially a singer-songwriter, an original musician. And you just got to try to get your music out. So, which is why I'm really appreciative of you having me on tonight. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
that's fine. We've got another phrase: keep slaying, chipping away.
Yep.
Cool. Right then. How long have you been recording music for? Has it been all your life, basically?
Look, I've always played music, and this latest song that my latest single is a song called "The Piano Player." It's a song I wrote about my dad. He was a Dixieland Jazz pianist. So I'm one of 6 kids, and when I was a little guy, Dad always played the piano, and so I've always sung. And I don't know if you know, but before I was a full-time musician, I was a forensic policeman and a bomb technician and a uniformed police officer for about 27 years. So, and even when I was in the police, on weekends and on like annual leave on holidays, I would tour with musicians and play music. So I always had that creative dream. So I haven't really, I mean, I've recorded a couple of covers albums over the years. But then when I got out of the police about probably 10, 12 years ago, I thought I'm going to give it a shot. And we're not here a long time, Dan, and you know you've got to chase your dream. So I just thought I'll give it a shot. So I released my first album, which was called Belonging, back in 2019. And funny thing is, where I am tonight, watching this musician, it's where I released my first album. So it's a bit sort of funny. And like my second, like I've always, in the last probably 9 years, I've recorded music, and I've learned a lot about the music industry. So even though I've always played music, once you start recording music and getting it out and distributing it, it's a whole new world, as no doubt you would understand. And I've had to learn all that sort of stuff. And it's still a learning curve. I'm still learning.
Yeah, sure thing. How have you felt about the piano player being received by the public? Has it been really positive on the whole?
Yeah, well, it's sort of funny. You never quite know what songs are going to resonate with audiences. And you, who worked in the music industry, you would hear lots and lots of songs, and you say, "Oh, I like that one. Oh, I don't really like that one, but I like that one. Oh, yeah, I really like that one." And that's the same when you release music. You try to pick a single that you think is going to work. So this new album, Threeways, which actually has been on #1 on the Australian charts for a couple of weeks in a row, which is a really big deal for an independent artist. But I've released a few singles, and I released one about 2 months ago, a song called Diane, which I wrote about my mum. Mum passed away, and it was dealing with loss. And I thought, how are people going to receive that? It's a really personal song. It was received really well. And now I've released The Piano Player, which is probably next in the progression. And actually this weekend in Australia, in 2 days' time, it's Father's Day. So it sort of coincided with that. And people are loving it. And I'm a country singer-songwriter, Dan, but because my dad was a Dixieland Jazz pianist, I have a lot of brass infusion in my music. And a lot of time people say, "Kevin, what are you?" And I say, "Look, I have a foundation of country music, but I think a lot of my music tends to cross a lot of genres, and the piano player has been very, very well received. And I think because it's about my dad, and my dad actually played on the record, so he's 94, Dan, and he's got dementia. But I took him into the studio in Sydney, and the producer, who was Matt Fell, was really lovely, and I got him to asked him could he record Dad, and he recorded my father playing the piano on a track that I wrote about my father. So it's been just a lovely experience. And Dad's, I know Dad won't be around a long time, but just to have Dad playing on this record, and I'll have it forever. And I released the album on CD, on USB, and also on vinyl. And to have Dad is just, I know it's a long-winded answer. I know I talk a lot, but it's a really special song, and it's been really beautiful. I've been talking to Dad about it, and his photo is the photo you see on Spotify or the digital platforms, Deezer and the other things, Apple Music. If you look at the photo, the artwork for the piano player, it's my dad in a tuxedo playing a grand piano at my wedding. He actually played the bridal march for my wedding. So it's just a special song all the way around, yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful, and really pleased that everyone is enjoying your new single. You mentioned you got an album coming out in vinyl as well, so that's wonderful as well. Do you do music videos, or is that something that doesn't appeal to you?
No, we love music videos. I mean, everything costs money, Dan. And,
yeah, it does.
As an independent artist, you got to pay for everything, and so we've got a lot of music videos on YouTube, Kevin Sullivan Music, and so I've got lots and lots of videos from songs I've written. The title track from my album Threeways, the song Threeways, we filmed it in the desert of Australia, all around the red dirt. And it actually, funnily enough, you've been in the UK, we stopped at a roadhouse when we were on tour, which is in the middle of Australia. And it's like something off Route 66, Dan. It's this roadhouse right on the highway, and the trucks stop there, and tourists and workers. And we stopped there to do a show. It's the middle of nowhere. And the people, the owners, were so lovely to us that I wrote a song called Threeways. And when we were working there, and I mentioned in the song, the cleaners were from the UK, and all these backpackers from the UK and the south of France and Ireland were all working, and they were all in the video. If you look at the video, there's all these young girls and young guys from the UK and from Europe who were in that music video, Threeways. So have a look at that one on YouTube, Kevin Sullivan Music.
We will check that one out. Just wanted to just ask about a song. Did you release a track called Journey? Is that off the album, or is that going back a bit?
Yeah, it is. It's yeah. Journey's the one of the first singles I've released, and it's a song I wrote with just a guy I met at a show. He came up to me and he had a similar backstory. He was a policeman and he was a musician. So we sat down, and I was a big Bruce Springsteen fan when I was younger, and I used to work in a remote part of Australia when I was in the police. And I would drive. It was about 13, 14 hours from where my mum and dad lived. I was only a young fella, and I had a utility vehicle, like a pickup truck sort of thing. And I had this dog. It was a blue cattle dog. Her name was Mary, and she'd be in the back of my car. And when I had days off, I would drive like 13 hours. I would try to avoid the kangaroos and all the Australian wildlife. And I would put on Thunder Road from Bruce Springsteen and just drive back home to see mum and dad, because I was only about 20, and I would drive home. So the song Journey has a bit of a Springsteen feel about it, and it really talks about that transition from my police days where I dreamed of being a full-time musician, Dan. And, you know, like all of us who have dreams and we get stuck in jobs, or we get mortgages, and, you know, the challenges of life. And sometimes you never think you're going to chase your dream, because my dream was always music and my passion. And from all those years ago, that's what Journey's about. And Journey has been #1 on the charts. And I think people relate to that story, that they're chasing their dreams, whether it be music, whether it's be ballet, whether it's be football, whether it be whatever. I think there's always hope. And I think in these crazy days we've had of COVID and there's trouble around the world, I think we all know that we're not here for a long time. So you really got to get out and have a go and live life, Dan. And that's what I'm doing. I take my 3 youngest kids on the road, and we've been all around Australia. We've done 170,000 kilometres and over 300 shows, and we're sponsored by an amazing caravan company, Sunland Caravans. And we've been living on it. We're back home now. But we lived on the road for 2 years, and we're just having a go. And I encourage other people, Dan, get out, life's short, have a go.
Yeah. I admire your spirit as well. So Journey, of course, like seems like you've been on the voyage, you know, your ups and downs, your highs and lows.
That's it, yeah.
And yet you have to make big sacrifices to get to where you want to sometimes. So you enjoy, like, obviously performing in your homeland of Australia. Are you open to like coming like overseas as well, like Europe maybe, or America?
Yeah, well, my new album Threeways, I recorded it both in Sydney and in Nashville, and I work with 4 separate producers. So I have played in Nashville. I've got friends who tour through the UK. I've got 2 older girls to another life I had. My oldest daughter married you won't believe it, she studied in Sotheby's in London, and she met a young English musician. He's more sort of pop, electric sort of type techno music. He's a great guy. He's funny. As you know, you English are the funniest people on the world. You do. No one does comedy like you guys. He's just a funny guy. He's a great fellow. I'm really proud that he's my son-in-law, and my daughter loves him. So he's been encouraging me. He said, Kev, you've got to tour the UK. I would love to. Dan, let me know if we can come over there. If you've got any ideas, please let me know. We've all got passports, Dan. They're all ready to go. Just tell me when we'll go to I'll drive to the airport after this show tonight and come over to the UK.
That's amazing. Like, yeah, I take my hat off to you. That's passion. Yeah, and where can people follow you on social media, and like, you know, where is it TikTok or Instagram, YouTube, and so on, websites?
So I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. So Kevin Sullivan Music on Facebook, and Kevin Sullivan, Kevin Kvin Sullo Sullo Sullivan Sullivan on Instagram. But I've got a website, kevinsullivanmusic.com, and you can find everything about us, our tours, the albums. Like I said, my new album Threeways, which is doing really well, I've released it on CD, on USB, and on vinyl. And funny thing is, people say, why would you release it on vinyl? But it's amazing. I've probably sold as many vinyl albums of Threeways as I've sold CDs. And the artwork for Threeways is a photograph of an intersection, the Barclay and the Stewart Highway in the middle of the Northern Territory. And it's very synonymous with my life and a lot of our lives, where we come to crossroads, and depending on which way you go is what happens in life. And, you know, that's what I did. We took our kids and we just hit the road for 2 years. And you know what? Sometimes you take a wrong turn, but that's life. And I'm so glad I've chased my music dream. And I don't know how long it'll go, but I'm just enjoying the journey. If I can mention another one of my songs, I'm just enjoying the journey, Dan, and I'm really loving it too.
That's amazing. I bet that was such a proud moment when you had the final master of the vinyl in your hand physically.
It really was, and as you know, there's so much work. You're mastering the song, or you're recording the songs, and like I said, we recorded it in Sydney and in Nashville. We used Nashville musicians and Sydney musicians, and then you're doing all this process, and then you're getting the artwork done, and it's just so much work, and everything costs money. And look, we thought we'd invest in CDs, USBs, and vinyl, and I'm really glad we have. And when they finally came in those boxes, like you said, and I opened it up, and I thought, particularly the vinyls, Dan. When I opened, because I've never released a song like an album on vinyl, and when I released it and saw those vinyls, I thought, oh my God, I'm a real musician now, Dan. I'm a real musician. I've got vinyl albums, and you know what? People say to me, "Oh, vinyl's coming back." You know what I say, Dan? They never left. They never left.
Too true, too true. Well, lovely, Kevin Sullivan, speaking to you today about, like, you know, your new single, and you know, your backstories and your anecdotes as well. I think that's the right word, anecdotes.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just got Tom to play your new track now on my show. So thanks for joining me on my show. It's so much obliged. All right.
Have you been down to Australia yet, Dan?
I haven't actually. Well, it's on my list. So maybe one day, as you say, like, live your dreams.
Well, Dan, what'll probably happen is, sorry, this light keeps going out. What'll happen is you'll come down here, like so many people from the UK. You won't want to go home, because this is the best place. Look, and I've been to the UK lots of times, and I love it. But I tell you what, Australia's the best place in the world, Dan. You'll love it too. So,
Yeah.
Dan, you get yourself down here to Australia. You come and see us too, right?
Brilliant. Yeah, I'll work on it. All right. Kevin Sullivan, a pleasure
Thank you, my
speaking
friend.
with you today.
Thanks so much. Listen, who do you follow in the